Hi, welcome. Happy almost Friday. This is Issa with Autumn and Carlos Knox with A Cloud Guru. Thanks for joining us there on YouTube and on Facebook Live. We are excited to share some information with you today about getting a certification or certificate that could, accelerate your career. So if you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comment section. Or if you have any comments, you can also put those there as well. We would definitely make sure we get those questions answered live, either throughout, depending if it's related to the topic we're discussing, or we can also share it for the end for our question and answer section. So I am Lisa White, your program director for the Austin Urban Technology Movement. Essentially, my job is to make sure that we are sharing experiences like this with our audience, those who are interested in moving into the tech industry, those who are already in the tech industry and maybe want to accelerate their career using certificates or other means, and essentially providing, like I said, resources to those who want to move into the tech space and be more successful. Today we have Karlos Knox. He has a number of titles down there, but overall he is our know-all for anything related to getting certificates and how that affects your career. And so I'm going to let Karlos Knox from A Cloud Guru introduce himself, and we can get started.
Hello. I hope everyone can hear me well. My name is Karlos Knox, and I'll be your guide for today on using certifications as tools for your career. Give me 1 second while I get set up on my end. All right. So I'm super excited that you took the time to join me this evening for this session on using certifications to accelerate your career. For those who haven't met, my name is Carlitos for real, but you can call me Carlos. And that's Carlos with a K, by the way. So if you're looking me up on LinkedIn, use a K. I'm here to share with you a few stories involving my technical certifications in hopes that you can follow the same journey to success. You see, I don't have a college degree, and prior to a few years ago, that was something I was ashamed of. And one day I'll start on that degree again, but that's a someday goal. For now, I have my career and it's successful. By my standards, I enjoy a blessed life and I love what I do every day. Next slide. So, if you give me 30 minutes, well, when we hit that next slide, then you can give me 30 minutes. Sorry. For me, the key to success has been technical certifications, and I have some great information to share with you. My promise is to tell you the facts.
Just make sure, Carlos, can you see the next slide? Are we all on the same?
I couldn't see the next slide, but I'm working it out on my end, so I apologize.
Okay, so I'm on the second one just to let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Look, for this session, feel free to ask questions in the chat, as Issa said, and I'll work to answer them. My promise is to tell you the facts on how I use certifications as proof of knowledge to attain some pretty awesome career roles. Next slide. So before we start, we're going to take a peek at the upcoming knowledge headed your way. We just wrapped up the introduction, and from here, we're discussing setting goals to enhance your career, and then we chat about what are certifications and how to use them to your advantage. Next slide. In part 2, we discuss focusing on your strengths, how you can shine by lifting as you climb, and we close with my top 3 tips if you're just getting started. So let's get to it. Next slide. We're going to start with career strategy. I was chatting the other day with a buddy, and he told me about a term called BLUF. Now, it stands for bottom line up front. And apparently in the military, BLUF is used to sum up the main point of an email or memo right at the start. And that's what I'm about to give you. A 1-sentence overview of this session. Set goals and commit to finishing them. So having a career strategy represents your actions or investments towards building the skills necessary. We're on career strategy slide, by the way.
Yes, I said it's the next one.
You are perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So, sorry, folks. I'm reading the script too, so I'm changing screens back and forth, so bear with me. But for me, what represents my career strategy is a base salary of at least $100,000, full medical benefits, and a group of people that I work with that challenge me to get constantly better. And I mentioned, without a degree, getting hired at top-tier companies requires you have proof of skills. And for me, Those skills were obtained by studying for certifications and then proved by passing an exam. Next slide. So here's the move I made that set up my career. It's a simple goal. I told myself I would get 3 certifications a year. My plan was if I continuously get better, I'll always be in demand. And at the time, I considered 3 certifications a fairly difficult challenge. Many advanced certification training courses were $4,000 to $5,000. Today, A Cloud Guru's site alone provides access to 160 certification courses for under $500 a year. It's an awesome value. So this was a goal I set back in 2011, and I kept at it, 3 certifications a year. And by 2014, during a certification training course, I met 2 executives from Electronic Arts. Within a month, I worked for Electronic Arts making video games. Talk about finding your dream job. I'm proud to say I'm in the credits of Need for Speed and Star Wars Battlefront 2. I even have an award for those 2 games, which were pioneers for running on the cloud platform. Now, my current job at a Cloud Guru is further proof that certifications open doors, sometimes in unexpected ways. For example, I use Cloud Guru's training site as a paying customer to get my first Google Cloud certification. I enjoyed the company's products so much, the instructors, the people, they were just great. And the company's mission was to teach the world to cloud, to make anyone, anywhere, a Cloud Guru. I just felt it. It took 3 months of efforts convincing ACG that they needed me. So I had to do several face-to-camera videos. How many of you like watching yourself on camera? But that's okay.
Me.
I didn't give up. Right? In May, I'll complete 2 years as a Google Cloud technical instructor at A Cloud Guru. And that's my role, to help people like you take change or make change in their lives through certifications. Back to my goals. Right? These haven't always been technical certifications. 1 year I got scuba diving certified, another a drone pilot license. I thought I wanted to build drone swarms to combat fires in urban areas. But after learning about the math and programming involved, it wasn't for me. So 90% of the time, I do study for cloud provider certifications. And for the past 3 years, that's all I've focused on: Google, AWS, and Microsoft Azure. But I want to tell you why this is the perfect time to let these certifications work for you. Companies used to buy hardware, software, and pay an engineer to set up and run applications. Now, they can rent hardware, software, or even just purchase a service from a cloud provider and skip the hardware and software altogether. Companies are still figuring out how to update their workforce with these new skill sets, while also keeping the business going. My company provides training for businesses, so we see the demand. You're not starting from behind, but from a point where everyone is learning this new paradigm of cloud computing and digital information management. What this means for you is there's all types of jobs. Some involve research, others writing applications, some using programming language, building machine learning models. You fill in the skills for your certification. Next slide. Perfect. So I just told you that certification opened doors, and I'm proof. But you also need to get noticed. And a good way to doing this is being a resource for others to grow their careers. That's the second part of using certifications, is you need to put them to use. Give a talk, share, start a blog, podcast, YouTube channel. Find ways to get noticed. I decided on speaking engagements. Why? Because that's the hardest thing for me to do. So goal 1 was I'll host 4 meetup groups a year for the Austin Arduino and microcontroller meetup group members. Now, my son and I attended this group, and the people are awesome. Even though I lead the group, the members always know more than me, and I always learn new skills from them. Also on the sheet are speaking engagements like this one on building career strategies, leveraging certifications. Excuse me. I gotta grab a drink. So my stretch goal, I want to start a YouTube channel where I host live streaming events like this, but to build IoT or Internet of Things products. I think they're going to be huge coming up soon. Now, I have the shows written. I just need to do it, but there's a fear factor. So there's ways to let other people help you. And, excuse me, sorry. These are the ways that I use to meet people, share my opinions, and hopefully impact some knowledge that helps you excel. Sharing is caring, and it's a great way to step into the arena and get noticed. Next slide. So the main part of the final part of advice on building your career strategy is don't forget about the other pieces in your life. I believe that each of these areas is important to maintain balance and harmony within yourself. So it's important to consider how life will be impacted by the level of effort required to accomplish the aforementioned goals. If you set a goal for 3 certifications, understand how that's going to affect your time allocated to other areas. So I use this chart on a simple 1 to 10 scale, determine how I feel about myself in each of these categories. I try not to be overly critical. I simply think that if I was my best me, a 10, how much effort would I put towards each area at a level 10 effort? And then I scale that out. I set 3 goals that I'd like to work on for each one, a little different than career strategies. These are ways I improve my experience in that area of my life. Things like go to church 3 times a month, volunteer as an usher, greet 3 people and tell them they look nice. Just little things that make me feel better as a person, feeds my spiritual being. And why this matters when you're planning your career strategy is I don't want you to forget about the pieces that go along with planning a successful career. The wheel of life helps me focus my attention on the pieces that I sometimes forget about. So at this point, we're kind of at a break. Are there any questions? Did I miss something that someone wants to know about? If not, I'll keep going.
I like the idea of identifying your strengths, or understanding like what are your goals and how can they be applied. Because honestly, when we want to add these certifications or certificates to your career, you already have your work-life balance. You have, class. You have work. You have your family. How can you add these goals and make them, realistic, or make them realistic goals? So I really like how you outlined and how to balance it in your current lifestyle.
Thank you. It's how
Yeah.
I do it. Like this is the real way, the real deal. This is my
Mm-hmm.
this is my struggle or process that I go through every year, try to review and find out where I can balance out some aspect of my life. Right now, after COVID, I got to get the physical and the health back going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've been inside too long.
But and I'll let you continue after
Sure.
this. A lot of people who have joined our program, they're so excited to join. I'm not gonna say a lot, but some of them have overcome this, but they realize, this is like time I have to dedicate towards the actual course. It's not like, I can just take, about 30 minutes, every day to just pop on a computer and, type in some words here and there. You actually have to balance this into your life. And so it is an investment on time. For us, with Autumn thinking this, it's free, but in terms of spending time, that still is something that's really important. So how does that balance into the rest of your life? When it comes to, like I said, your kids, or whatever your social life is like, because everybody still has a life out here, or what COVID has affected your life with. So yeah, so this is a
Yeah,
really good thing to keep in mind when you're looking at getting a certification or certificate.
I added this in here because like I believe when I went through the public school system, I memorized my way through school. I was smart enough to do that. I didn't have to actually learn what I was doing. I just memorized what I needed to know for that
Hmm.
time period. So everyone learns differently. And if you don't have that balance to how you learn, like I can go get a certification, 3 weeks is what it takes. That's it. It doesn't matter what
Hmm.
it is. I failed one in the last like 4 years. So for me, learning's easy. That's something I can do. So I
Hmm.
realized though that for others, it could take 3 months. It's just
Hmm.
different.
Definitely. It's good to keep in mind. Let's go to the next slide.
All right. So, what are certifications? It's not a magic lamp that you rub 3 times and you get 3 wishes. It's proof that you possess knowledge of a technology well enough to pass an exam criteria. And for me, certifications have been how I navigated corporate careers without a degree. Next slide. So on my resume, I exclusively list certifications as my education. I don't even put education, I just put certifications. I often get asked, did you forget that? I say no, confidently, because I know they need my skills and I have certifications that prove that I have the skill set that they need. That's the first way to use certifications, a proof that you have a set of skills in a particular area and have validated these skills by taking an exam. Next slide.
And I want to make one comment here.
Yep.
For all of those who are skeptical, this is, like I said, Carlos literally built his career on his experience with the certifications. So if you're still having, some, maybe uneasy feelings about, skipping or competing against somebody who went to a 4-year college to get a degree in computer science, you don't have to take that route. It is definitely manageable, and you can definitely navigate your way through, like said, certifications.
Cool. So a certification itself is an official document stating you are certified as being able to competently complete a job or task. Now, these are obtained usually by passing an exam or the completion of a program of study. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Certifications are created by vendors of products to enable users to demonstrate technical competence. You might ask, why, you might ask? So they can enable customers to use their products more efficiently. There's consultant architects that use certifications as study mechanisms to gain a particular set of skills in order to build their business. Now, usually a certification involves a testing center and some sort of proctor who administers the exam under set conditions. Next slide. So let's begin with certificates. Certificates are easier to obtain than certifications. There's no check to verify who actually took the course. Certificates use the honor system. They provide a record that you completed some training and a date, time, and your name. Now, these are great for displaying your learnings on LinkedIn or skills on your resume. You still have the skill set, even though you didn't take the exam. Next slide.
And with these to add, this is a good place to start for those who, like I said, are still skeptical about the whole process. It's also good for those who are moving into other fields that might have, transferable skills they can use this to build on. So, definitely, if you want to take a certificate, it is definitely a good add-on for your profile, your portfolio, your profile, your resume, your LinkedIn, all of your cover letter, all of that. So definitely, take advantage of certificates if that's the best route for you.
And they're good if you feel pressure from taking exams. Some people
Right.
just don't take exams well, but having the skills, you could still work that knowledge, and I'll show you how a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But I still believe certifications are better because they're more difficult to obtain. They involve an exam, usually some proctor or exam administrator. It depends on the certification. But these are accredited by some third party and usually expire every 2 to 3 years and have to be renewed. This keeps your skills current. Now, for me, getting certified boosted my confidence level when speaking about Google products and services. I currently have 4 Google Cloud certifications, expanding to include security, architecture, networking, and engineering. And I know I have the complete picture when designing Google Cloud solutions. Next slide. So this is my latest certification from March 12th of this year. I've already got one down. I got another one scheduled. And I put this one off for over a year because I didn't really know security. But I found when I went to go take it, it was the easiest one yet. I finished the 50 questions in an hour. Certifications, the investments just pay for themselves over and over again. Next slide. So I didn't want to set up certifications without telling you a little bit about the exam. For example, for this GCP certification security exam, the questions were multiple choice, multiple answer. Other tests sometimes can have hands-on labs. Sometimes some can even have essays, depending on what you're certifying on. There's also a cost for the exam. The Google certification we just looked at costs $200 per attempt, pass or fail. There are 50 questions with about 2 hours to finish. And you have the option now to take the test from either your house on a laptop with a camera or at a testing center. I'm still a testing center person. I've just heard a lot of, I've heard that the online piece is still working through a few glitches. Let's put it that way. And for me, again, certifications just work. That's it for that segment. Moving on to the next one, unless Issa has a question for me.
No, well, I was just going to say, so at the end of the slide, we'll definitely share the certification cohorts that, anybody can join with us. And I'm glad you showed that slide, or you shared this information in terms of, what the exam consists of. So those who are preparing on the certification side, that, it's about a 2 hour exam that you're planning to complete at the end of the course that you're taking. And so like Carlos said, depending if you are good at taking exams, you can invest your time doing that, or you could take the certificates and build on your career using the certificates. So it depends on the user or the learner. It also depends on, like I said, the time you have to invest into the program. Lucky all of our programs are free. There is one that has a cost related, but there's a scholarship available for those who apply. And if you want to have more conversations about your different options, we'll definitely go over that at the end of our presentation.
So the next step is you're planning out your career journey. You know about a little about certifications, but you need to be aware of your strengths and weaknesses. And for me, this would be something like I'm super slow when it comes to writing programs. You might know this as programming or coding. It's writing computer instructions in a specific language. My brain just stops working. I swear I stare at a blank screen. I manage to type a few words and my brain begins to daydream of all the other things I could do with visual pictures. I think it's just the text. But unless I'm working on a project that requires a specific type of programming certification and there's a very large payday, it's not something I would choose to do. Instead, I would focus on learning that yields good returns, and I operate with more stress, more control, and without burning myself out. Next slide. And so I'd like to talk to you a bit about finding your strengths. The first is the Gallup Strength Finder. Now, I found this tool helpful in my journey because it helped me understand that there are organizations that measure strengths and develop tests to determine your strengths. So this one ranks your top 5 skills or strengths and explains how all 5 work together to give you superpowers in a career arena. Now, where it helped me was that I was certain I knew what my strengths were, but I was wrong. I only got one of the 5 skills correct. My top strength was an intellectual. I call it a daydreamer because I spend way too much time just thinking in my thoughts. But this taught me that I have to work differently because of that. I need to start the task, plan while doing it, and that will get me to my goal. Otherwise, I just stay stuck in a thinking loop and don't make any decisions. So finding your strengths and weaknesses will help you overcome obstacles on your way to success. Next slide. The other piece that helped me was, what color is my parachute? There's a book version and there's a workbook. Now I purchased the workbook and it's amazing. Plan on 10 to 20 hours of self-introspection work though. For most of us, there's nothing harder than self-reflection, evaluating ourselves when we know the level of effort we're capable of and the level of effort we put forth on a daily basis. This one helps guide you through how you can build your career parachute by learning and growing skills that complete your personality and aptitudes in a job environment. Find your strengths and interests and focus your energies there. And the last slide. The final pieces is, if you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are, ask someone, maybe a longtime friend or coworker, and accept the feedback as ways you can improve. This is the input you need to move on or forward.
So I did see your questions here in the chat about the AWS. We will definitely get to those towards the end of this presentation, but we see your chats and your questions, everyone.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get there so we can answer some questions. All right. So moving on. The theme for this one is sharing is caring. And I titled it Lift as You Climb. And so, as I mentioned, in getting certified, it's just the first part of how you leverage the power of the certification towards your desires. So, how do you leverage the certification skills demonstrated in the exam? How do you put them to work? You create content to help others pass the exam. Share your notes, share your journey, tell how you did it to your tribe. Lifting as you climb is about helping others rise up as you move up. This builds your foundation as an expert, builds your credibility, and displays your leadership qualities. Next slide.
I totally agree with that. Actually, I remember, I forget which professor told us, but this is, if you could get the content down where you're going to explain it to a first grader, then you know it through and through. So I definitely like that analogy.
Cool. Oh, apologies.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an example worked out for lift as you climb, but I took it out of the deck. So we're gonna go ahead and skip to the top 3 tips for beginners. But I was shocked that we were there already. Got here too fast. I want to leave you with 3 tips on where to start. So the first is find a popular community channel where other learners gather to discuss what they're learning. Support them in the community. Respond to their questions, chats, even if you have to look up answers. As you do, you're going to watch your own following and support grow. The second piece, learn Python. It's one of the most versatile programming languages, and I've put this off for years. But this year, I'm going to take a Python course. And for my project, I'm going to automate a Minecraft server. Even though I don't play Minecraft, I have a plan on how to take the skills and then put them to use. And of course, the last thing you could do is get a certification. It's proof of your knowledge and skills in a given field.
And for the question here, in terms of, I know you mentioned get knowledge in Python language.
Yeah.
But what kind of, I guess, what are the best uses for someone who has knowledge in Python? What kind of careers or positions or projects are they looking for?
And that's a great question. So I understand the cloud arena space. So AWS, Google, and Microsoft Azure. And as I mentioned, hardware is not a thing anymore. It's the world is moving to a software driven construct. So being able to write in Python like opens all kind of doors as a software developer. You could write applications, build applications. You could write the back end for applications that are running. So you would be more writing if someone called a website, how you would process that information to deliver the data they wanted or an app. I would use Python in those types of ways. But honestly, it's just a universal language that as we move forward, it allows you just to automate things in your own space as well. Whether it be organizing pictures or something like that, you begin to give a machine instructions so you can automate things in your own life. That's how I would use the programming language if I had one. Like I definitely take it with my skills and use it in some sort of DevOps or developer role. Just, I guess the financial piece is there on that one, and as well as, I guess, flexibility if you like that piece. I don't plan to do that with Python. It's just simply a skill that I know I need to add to my repertoire in order to continue to move up, is to understand how to code. And then I would like to build some programs, maybe write an app for a phone or something. Python wouldn't get me there, but once you learn one language, Python's probably the easiest to learn that I see. You can easily transition to another one because you understand concepts. So starting with Python is more why I recommend it as the entry-level language. It's easier to learn and figure out, and then move into the advanced concepts of some other language as it fits, your career goals.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We actually have a IT automation with Python cohort for those who are interested. We can get to that list at the bottom. But we do have a question here from Darius. You mentioned the AWS. Oops, wrong one. Sorry, you guys. It was about, here we go. How long is the AWS certificate? You mentioned AWS. Do you have any information for Darius?
I do. So there are multiple levels of AWS certificates. We can call it level 1, which is what a novice would take, which is the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification. I believe the content, the time I looked at it, if given by AWS, it's free online, is about 7 to 8 hours. A Cloud Guru also has an AWS course that's our flagship. Like we specialized in the CCP, and the next level up is the associate level certifications. I believe those are a little bit longer, but they're more in depth. They take you from beginner all the way through. You may spend about 15 hours going through that content.
Okay, thank you for that. And we can continue. Oh,
we kind of reached the end. I had a quick note on a Cloud Guru that, I wanted to tell everyone. They have a straightforward mission. It's to teach the world the cloud. I think we've helped more than 2.2 million students acquire skills and certifications. It's state of the art. I almost consider it like Netflix for training. As one of the instructors, I know how much time we put into making a lesson. It may take 2 days to create a 10-minute lesson. I couldn't do it today, but normally all my slides will always capture your attention, like with every 15 seconds of something moving, something telling you the story so that you can help remember it.
Mhm.
I think they're great, and we just added so many new features. Like there's 1,600 labs that you can do as part of the course. We have shows that teach you um, the basics of high level thinking. We have just a plethora of skills that, again, for the time
Mhm.
frame, I know I don't watch as much as I should, but I definitely use my own platform as I study. For the security exam, I only used a Cloud Guru content. They have the practice exams, they have the content, the quizzes, and everything I needed to pass the exam on the first try. um, and so I guess
Mhm.
I did want to share how I study for an exam. I schedule it. Like that's rule one. I told you at the beginning of this, it's set a goal and commit to doing it. And so if I pay that $200, I schedule my exam in no more than 3 weeks from a date, and I go for it. Like I will block a weekend and I will watch all the content in one weekend. I'll take the
Mhm.
practice exam. From there, I will go back and research everything that I missed on the practice exam in order to fill in the gaps. And now I effectively have a week left where I could just fill in whatever I need, and then I take the exam. And that process works really good for me. Again, it's just it's balancing out that with your own life. I know how I study, so I block full weekends. But for you, you have to balance it out. But
Mhm.
I highly recommend giving a certification course a try. Um, if I were to recommend one right now, the AWS CCP, which is the cloud practitioner, for Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud, would be the AZ900, which is their foundational certificate. And Google just came out with an entry level cloud platform. So nobody actually has it yet. It won't be live for about 2 more months, called the Cloud Leader. That's their entry level. So there's a place to get started, but you don't have to start there. There's no requirements. You could go all the way up to the professional cloud architect for Google, which, the median salary is 150. If you think you want to jump in on the deep end, that's available on the Cloud Guru platform, where you could just start there and then fill in the gaps working backwards. That process always works good too.
I'm glad you mentioned how you get prepared for an exam. Tammy asked, is there usually tutoring or mentoring available during the time you're studying for the certificate?
I guess I've reached a point where I usually don't need those resources, but as I mentioned in the tips, one of the things you want to do is join a community. So like ACG has a Discord group where there's people just like you that are studying. So if 1,000 people are starting a course, a month, you always have someone in there who's right where you are, but you need that community. You need to be interactive and engaging. So there's not really necessarily a tutoring or mentor piece, maybe coming soon. But right now, what we're doing is you would simply join the community, and they serve as kind of when you have a question, everybody learns.
Mhm. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Darius, for your questions. If anybody else has any questions, you can drop them in the comment section. Some people call it the chat, and we will answer them live. I'm looking to see if there's any more here in our section. But I will ask you, so now that you set your goals, when you have achieved all those goals, how do you go about choosing the next certifications that you want to add to your repertoire?
And that is a great question. So it goes like this. There's a saying that I heard on some TV show the other day, and I wrote it down on a post-it note, and it's right here on my screen. And it says, "Would you still do it if someone told you it was hard?" And so normally now what I look for is, what's the hardest thing that's going to be for me to do, whether it's a programming language that I know I'm going to struggle with as I go through this. Um, but right now I'm really focused in my career. Like I'm building the next flagship course for ACG, and it's just kicking off. So the next 3 months are going to be focused on that. I probably won't do any certifications. Post that, I need to renew my network engineer certification. It's expiring, and I need to redo an AWS certification. So there's always something going, because certifications are always expiring. Technology is
Mhm.
always changing. But how I fit it in usually is, for example, I'm a Google TA. I'm going to focus a lot on Google. However, I just did a course for VMware. So because of work, I will go out and get a VMware certification in order to support that effort. So sometimes it's work related, where I know I can advance myself and my company by doing something. Other times it just fits into the personal goals. That 3 has just always worked out as I'm in a learning space. So
Mm-hmm.
especially right now, but it just always, I find something that interests me, whether it's Arduino, IoT. I know I have my core passions, so it's always going to be something. Again, focus on your strengths. I'm going to go after what I know. I'm not going to go after usually starting something new like this Python thing.
So, question: When I know the certification process is a continuous learning process, and so you're always, like I said, renewing your certifications. What do you get your most updated information to make sure that you're up to speed on that next certification, or that you're prepared to take the next certification exam?
That's a good question. So I don't know that for all the cloud platforms. I do
Okay.
know it for Google because at my own company, we have a Google pillar team, and we're always talking about what's coming up on Google, what they
Mm-hmm.
drop new. The recent announcements that Google Cloud made, like $4 billion in the first quarter. That'll hit our Slack channel, where again we start talking. But a lot of that information we share on our company Discord. Like all the instructors and ACG people are on the same Discord with most of the students. So you kind of interact with everybody. You'll see our roadmaps there. You'll see what's coming. And a lot of that stuff I just get from the office. Okay, I know that we're building a course on this. That's something I'm interested in. I'll pick that off the list. So that's how I choose my certifications. Right now, anything with cloud is pretty good. Anything with programming languages are amazing. Like I consider that cloud runs off programming for the most part these days. So it kind of
Mm-hmm.
all fits in that you have a multi skill set with programming, that you're needed in multiple fields.
So it's ideal, essentially, like you mentioned, to stay in the know with those different groups, maybe the discussion groups, or like you said, your peers at work, or those who are just in the industry. As long
Yeah.
as you stay in the know, you'll be ready. At least to know the content that's going to be on that next exam, or to recertify yourself for that exam.
Right. And
Right.
I tried to make this agnostic, where I told you how to use certifications. I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
focus on cloud certifications.
Yeah.
That's the space that I live in. And I'm so happy to see everyone's questions
Mm-hmm.
around that area. I'll have to think up, like, because this was agnostic, I didn't focus a lot on cloud. So I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, it's fine. It's honestly the conversation. It could. There's a lot of cloud interest out there, but this
yeah,
could apply to somebody who's looking at drones. This could apply to somebody who's looking at cybersecurity.
absolutely.
So I want to make sure we kind of cover the bases here. And I do have a question for you, um, Ioni. I apologize if I pronounce your name correct. I don't know if it's Lonnie or if it's Ioni, if it's a capital I or an L. The formatting is a little simple here. Where do you go to put your resume when you have the certification?
Gotcha. That's a good question. So I I use LinkedIn, as you could see on the screen, or you can't see it on that screen, but
I'll
I'm a
check.
big LinkedIn fan. So
Mm-hmm.
my LinkedIn profile is not where it should be right now. But if I were to be looking, if I were actively looking for a role, LinkedIn would be where I focused my attention and wanted somebody to find me. If you were in the presentation, you'll notice that I'm always doing something to get noticed. I don't want to go put my resume and look for something. I want somebody to find me. And so that's the way I use that strategy. So I don't actually go put my resume. I'll go find a company. I'll look at the top 100 companies in Austin, Texas. I'll pick which ones fit my skill set. I'll look at what skills they require. I'll structure my resume for that if I need to get in. But mostly, I'm going to go find somebody that works for that company, and I'm going to talk to them. And I'm going to say, like, what? Tell me about your experience. What do you know? What do you do? What do you like about it? And I'm going to say, man, I got this thing that I was looking for. Or it's not stalking, but you go out and find people from the company and comment on their comments, so they start to see you. Again, get
Mm-hmm.
noticed. Just having somebody read your resume and be able to pick out what really matters about you is
Mm-hmm.
too hard. What the other way I do it is something Cloud Guru has a program right now, which is build a digital resume. I would go build a cloud project that hosted my website online and had a digital version of me talking, saying all the things that I do, and this is my skills demonstrated
Mm-hmm.
in the resume. Like it's a little bit different than just creating a resume on paper and submitting it. I would go a lot more in detail to beat that what the average person does. Like you want people to find you.
That's good. And actually, I like the part about the digital resume. I've seen some really cool resumes actually on LinkedIn, portfolios, people using GitHub, which is a
That's
place where you
right.
can put all your projects. So yeah, if you're in this space where you're getting these certifications, and some of these certificates and certifications have you completing, projects, or I know the certificates that that I will share here in a second. There is, project that you'll be completing, or some kind of case study that you'll be completing, that you can then share your experience with that case study, and speak to that experience that you had. So definitely there's a lot of different ways. I know a lot of tech companies in particular are moving away from just the resume, the written resume and the cover letter, for the sake of seeing, okay, I can see what you said you can do, but show me what you can do, because a lot of people are visual. It's faster to understand what somebody can do, what they can't do, by looking at a project, and then it speaks more truth to what their skill set is. So I definitely agree with all that. And so I would definitely hear, for those who want to connect with Carlos, make sure you check out his LinkedIn page. No judgment, he is updating it. So check out linkedin.com/n/Carlos Knox. He's also linked on all of our flyers, on Facebook or social media in general. So if you forget his page, you can find it there as well. So yeah, thanks. This is awesome. Give me a second here. So, as I mentioned, there are some cohorts you could join under Autumn that you could, result in a certificate or a certification. Depends on what you are looking for. So we mentioned that IT automation with Python, professional certificate. We have a partnership with Google. So you've probably been seeing a lot of these ads out there. Google saying, "Hey, we got these certificate programs that are, you don't need any experience, you don't need any, background in tech at all." The gag is, if you go through Autumn, it's actually free through, when you enroll with us. If you do it on your own, there's a cost you can incur individually. So definitely advise anyone who's out there who is in need of, kind of spicing up their career a little bit and getting some more certifications or certificates, to check out our options. Definitely go to www.autumntx.org/join Autumn. You can go to our website in general and check out, all the different things we have going on. But if you want to get down to the point and look at these cohorts, we definitely want you to check out Join Autumn, select Get Trained on that form. You can even put, if you know exactly what certifications or certificates, or maybe what area tech that you're looking at, you can put that in the notes section, and we can, guide you along the next steps to getting those certificates or certifications. Also, if you are interested in joining our job board, at least checking out the listings we have on our job board, you can go to our website as well. That is its own tab under jobs, and you can create a profile to access that information as well. So make sure you follow us on social media. If you found us through social media, we appreciate you for following us over here to Facebook or to YouTube Live. Make sure you check us out. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn as well, for other information about events that we have like this, or maybe opportunities for you to take advantage of in the tech space through our training programs, as well as our job boards, or maybe to get just involved with our community in general. And so we like to make sure we share our information about being an Automite, and that's someone who's taking advantage of these these cohort hard skills opportunities. You can also take advantage of the content we have for our soft skills. You can check out our app when you go to our website, www.autmtx.org. Get trained, it links you to our app. So if you want to just learn more about the opportunities there are in tech, the app will share the information. But like I said, when you're ready to get that cohort, get the cohort and actually get the certification and dedicate the time towards that, make sure you mark Get Trained on your profile when you join Autumn. So there's mentoring, there's networking, there's events like this we have going on, there's community service. We have all of that in our community, just waiting for you on the other side of that Join Autumn form. So thanks for joining us today. Carlos, do you have any last words you'd like to share with us?
I enjoyed being here with you. I hope you took away some great strategies to make a difference in your career. That's what I'm here for.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for everybody in the chat. Thanks for your comments, your questions. We definitely want to make sure we are connected with you guys. If you have anything else you'd like to share, like I said, the Join Autumn is the best route, is the fastest route for you. And keep up with us on social media to see what we have going on next. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks.